Okay.
Okay. We are live, guys. Welcome to our tax and business training. For those of you that are tuning into the recording, thank you. For those of you that are on live, thank you. We have a very, very special guest joining our team today. He's someone that I connected with middle of last year, and he's really dramatically shifted my life and my business in a lot of ways. So I'm really excited to share his amazing content with you. He has an extraordinary bio, so I want to properly edify and introduce him to you guys. Scott Burnett has been a teacher of business for over 25 years. He is a best-selling author. He co-wrote a book with the famous Brian Tracy, which I know most of you on the line know who Brian Tracy is. He's a phenomenal conscious thought leader and business owner, and him and Scott wrote a book together. So we're definitely going to be utilizing that in our team. So thank you for that, Scott. He just recently last year was asked to speak at the UN about Global Initiative for Entrepreneurship, which is amazing. What an opportunity. He teaches CPAs. So he not only understands tax law, but he teaches the people that are doing our taxes. He's on the board of directors for over 200 companies, and he specializes in network marketing for entrepreneurship, and he's on a board for all of that, within the industry. So he coaches individuals like ourselves, and he also works with companies. He is a former trial attorney. So he actually has, legal experience in the courtroom, not just sitting behind a desk, but actually doing the legal stuff inside a courtroom, which is amazing. He's a father of 2 boys, and he's a husband. I'd love to welcome on the call my personal attorney, one of my mentors, and my good friend, Mr. Scott Burnett. Welcome to the call, Scott.
Hey, good morning. Thank you very much, Brittany. I appreciate that. I love the introduction. And I have a place in my heart for where you are, where you're living. I was the deputy district attorney in Santa Maria for a number of years, which is just a few miles from you.
Yes, I did not know that.
Yeah, I was the DA for that for a lot of years. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to listen to the call. My goal is to help you become a better business owner. And that's kind of a big, big goal. So how do we accomplish that? Well, I've got a couple of things that I want to share with you today. And what I like to refer to them as, they're building blocks. Today, we're going to cover some basic stuff. Maybe some of you are doing some of this, or maybe some of you are not doing it. We want to kind of just get everybody on the right track. And if there's an interest going forward in the future, I would be happy to get back on a call and add to it. But today, we're really going to be starting with a very fundamental question is, are you a business owner? Now, if you're selling a product or a service, if you're providing services and you're receiving 1099, then that means you're a business owner. But do you think like a business owner? Are you acting like a business owner? And that is very, very important today, because with the tax law changes, many of the personal deductions that we used to take as what was referred to as personal exemptions on our tax return are gone. They wiped them off. Charitable giving, gifting, a lot of things that we did that we were writing off, we're not able to on the personal side. But if you're a business owner, you can take those things that you got disallowed and apply them to your business, and then you can do the deduction on the business side. So there has never been a better time to be a business owner. So are you? Are you a business owner? Well, let me ask you the most fundamental question. When you're doing your job, when you're doing your business, whether it's, let's say, multiple activities or a single activity, the biggest thing that we're trying to accomplish is set ourselves up for success. And the way that we do that is we start with the understanding that I am in for it to this whole thing for one word and one word only, and that is profits. You see, I'm not working for a paycheck, right? I'm not working for a payment because I'd be better off working for somebody else. I'm working as a business owner for profit, and profit is a mindset. So what we want to accomplish here is we want to start working towards trying to create income that isn't related to an expense. It's not money that I need or I take, but rather money that I build to create equity in my business, and we call that equity profit. All right. So that's our goal. That is our lofty goal. Now, the first thing we have to start out with is, what are you doing? Well, what are you doing? How do you make your money? So let's say you're working in isogenics, or maybe you're a carpenter or a plumber or a consultant or a business coach, whatever you're doing, you're receiving income. My question to you is this. The first question, is that money going into a personal account, or is it going into a business account? See, that's critical, because when we look at business, the first thing that we want to look at in business is banking. Do you have a bank account for your business? Many times in network marketing, what they do is they'll pay us. Brittany, can I use Isogenics as an example?
Yes, please do. Everyone on the line is currently doing Isogenics. So. Okay,
my favorite product, by the way. I can't tell you how many cleanses I do or how many e-shots I take in a day. That would be but they give us the ISA-card, right? And you have an ISA card, and then they put money on it. They load it in there. And what is happening for us as business owners is we start living on that card. You know, we're paying for business, we're paying for personal, we're doing stuff, and we're sort of co-mingling money. And when you're in business, that's the thing that we got to stop. So if this is you, right, you're receiving money on the ISA card, and you're paying for things, both business and personal, or you're just paying business on it, but you don't have a separate account, this is what I'd like you to do. Number one, I want us to open up a business checking account. It's very important. You can call it Brittany Cara Enterprises, unless your name is Brittany Cara, that may be a bad idea. But you want to have your company name. Now, it can just be a business account, say Scott Burnett, Scott Burnett Enterprises, Scott Burnett Coaching, Scott Burnett Consulting. It can be whatever you want. But when you go to the bank, they're going to want you to set up that account. Now, it could have a tax ID number, right? If you change the company name from something other than yourself, it's going to need a tax ID number. They're not hard to get. You can contact me and I'll help you get that. But I need you to set up an account. So I've got a bank account now, and I've got the ISA card. Every time this card gets paid, every time it receives money, I need you to transfer that into the business. Why is that important? Because it separates it from the opportunity to spend it and commingle it. It creates it in a business account where we can do proper bookkeeping, which is your responsibility as a business owner. So Brittany asked me at the beginning, what do I want to talk about? Well, I want to talk about entrepreneurship. I want to talk about being a good business owner, being a good steward of that business. I want to change the way you think, the way you work, the way you do business, and the way you pay taxes. And if you're doing things as a business owner and there's not a lot of structure to it, we want to change that slightly and just say, I need a business bank account. All right. I'd like you to have a business bank account. I'd love for you to have a business debit card. And I'd love for you to have a business savings account. All right. Because as a business owner, what we want to do is we want to run our income in it. Pretty simple concept, right? Now, number two, we want to have, this is a word that makes everybody anxious. We need a budget. Now, Brittany, you can talk about this a little bit. Budgets are kind of intimidating, aren't they, a little bit in the beginning?
They are. So I hired Scott a couple months ago. I saw him speak and he just blew my mind. And I knew that I was set up for success in business, but I was making some critical mistakes, and I knew I was making them, but I needed somebody in my life to kind of show me exactly what I was doing wrong. And Scott did that. So he actually, he goes, what's your business budget? And I didn't have one, you guys. I was giving money here and promos here, and I was blowing a large amount of the money that I was making in Isogenics. And Scott actually, held the mirror up, and we sat down, we went through all of my numbers. We created a spreadsheet, which for me, I am not a spreadsheet person, but I'm committed to becoming a spreadsheet person because it is required for my business and for my success. So it was a huge mindset shift. It was scary and uncomfortable, and Scott guided me through it very, very elegantly. And we looked at our business budget and we came down with a solid number. It's what I work off of now. It's, you guys, it gave me so much freedom because now I know exactly where everything in my business is going. I know how much money I have to put into team promos or buying tickets or whatever it is. But it was eye-opening when we did that budget. Just looking at how much money I had spent on like random team stuff was outrageous. It was outrageous. And it really was like, it was such a wake up call for me. So having a budget will provide you mental clarity and freedom as your business grows. So even if you're only making a couple $100s a week right now, have a business budget. It's something I wish I would have done years ago. And thanks to Scott, I'm doing it now.
I want to share with you guys something. I know when we talk about budgets, it creates anxiety, right? It's like, and because it's something sometimes that we don't look at, and then it's kind of hard. Well, how do I start? What do I do? So I'm going to break it down for you right now. We're going to talk about it. But it really is very important to you because it's a lot of work. I mean, we work really, really hard. It's hard to earn money. And the last thing you want to do is waste money or pay too much in taxes. And so everything that we're trying to accomplish here today is just getting us on a good track. Now, how do you create a budget? Well, it's easy, really. What we want to start with is how much on average do we make a month? So how could we figure out what the average monthly income that we make is? You could look at 2017, right? You could look at the income that you received in 2017 and then divide that by 12. And let's say that creates a budget. So we'll use simple numbers. My income on a monthly basis, can you see that okay, Brittany? Yep. Okay, so I make $1,000. Now, what does it cost me to make $1,000? How do I create $1,000? Well, I may have internet. I may have my auto ship. I may have supplies. I may have Facebook posts or promotions. I may have marketing or books or publishing things that I've purchased to help my team. And that kind of, those expenses are things that I'm looking at from the previous year. So let's say, for example, my budget, my income is $1,000 and it cost me about $200 in expenses. And those expenses are the things that we just talked about, like your cell phone bill, your auto ship, your marketing. You have to look at what are the hard costs that it takes you to earn that money. That becomes our budget. So we know now what we make, and now we know how much we spend, and that tells me how much is left over. Now, this could be a different number for you. It could be 10,000, it could be 5,000, it could be 600. It doesn't matter. All we're trying to do is create the framework of a budget. So if my monthly average is 1,000, but some months I make 1,500, well, that's great, but it's still the expenses are what we're trying to create as our budget. So the remainder, well, that comes potentially to you. So then the second budget, so the first budget is our business, and then the second budget is you. So many people in network marketing are taking money out of it without understanding the consequences of what they're doing. So if you take money out of your business, that's going to create a taxable event. So if I don't need the money, let's say I have a W-2 job, then I don't need as much money out of the business as, let's say, somebody who doesn't have a job and this is their only source of income. So how much do I need from my business every month? So we have two budgets, right? We have the first budget, which is us, and then the second budget, right? Or excuse me, the first budget, which is our business, and then the second budget, which is you. Now, people say to me, well, I don't have a budget, or I have a budget, but it's not, it's kind of strict, or I don't, you know, there's always unexpected expenses. then it's not a budget. You anticipate it. You can look at the history of your lifestyle and you can say, you know, I spent this much on groceries. This is my average utility bill. This is my mortgage. This is my rent. These are my car payments. This is my insurance. This is my credit card payment. You have to put into this column all those expenses that you're incurring, and you're trying to make these numbers match. So if I spend 200 and I make 800, that means that my lifestyle has to fit that number. Does that make sense, everybody? Because what we see a lot of times is that lifestyle starts to go up, but earnings don't always, or sort of things that are sort of unexpected pop up. A fancy dinner, an HBO subscription, a trip to the clothing store. I'm a bit of a clothes horse, so I know that's a budget buster, right? So there's things that you just have to know. Expenses that are seasonal, like electric is higher for me in the summer. So what I'm trying to forecast here is, what do I need? And the thing that is the most common mistake that I see business owners making is, as their business income increases, so does their lifestyle. And as the lifestyle increases, the business income has to keep up with it. But the only thing that you can control is this, the personal one. So if my business expenses are here, my lifestyle shouldn't be exceeding it. And as my business income goes up, my lifestyle should not go up. It should stay the same for a period of time so that we can build the equity in the business. So when we talk about budgets, what I'm really trying to get you to see, more than anything, is that this is where it all is. Everything in your world as a business owner is through budgets. So I have a budget for my business. This includes the income that I make, the expenses to create that income, and what is left over. That's my net. And then that net is coming over to my personal, me, and then I've got expenses, mortgage, utilities, fun. I've got kids, so that means crap, lots of crap, every month, crap. And that means I'm always spending more than I should on them. And then that has to match up. Now, it seems extraordinarily simple, doesn't it? I mean, it really is. But so many people are kind of vague about it. They don't really look into it. And one of the things that we talked about, Brittany and I did, and many of my coaching clients, is as you go through the numbers, what did you feel? Right? What was the energy that when you saw it? When you saw your spending, did you feel good about it? Did you feel not so good about it? Everybody's looking for the same thing in life and in business, and that's peace of mind, right? You just want tranquility. You just want peace. And this gives me mental peace. I know what to expect. I know that I have to pay a minimum amount of money. And these are my expenses. And then if I create more than that, that's bonus. That bonus amount, that's profit, that goes into savings. So budgets are twofold. Business first, personal second. How do you create a budget? The easiest way for you to create a budget is simply look back at 2017 and invest some time into doing it. If we don't do that, if we don't create that fundamental framework, it is very, very difficult for you to be successful in business. And I want you to succeed. My whole philosophy about business is reciprocity. I just believe that if you help other people, it helps you. And I want you to be successful. I have no skin in the game against you, right? I'm not your competitor. I'm not trying to compete. I'm trying to help you. And I'm telling you, the thing that will fundamentally shift your business is the two things we've covered so far. Get a bank account for that business and put your money in it. Number two, create a budget for your business so you know when you're successful. because that really creates all sorts of things for you. So we're in this as business owners for profit, right? We can't create profit until we know what we need. And we don't want to spend more than we make, and we have to account for taxes, and we'll talk more about that in subsequent calls. But this is really the fundamental thing, the basic thing. And it's hard. I mean, people, you have to understand, you don't want the budget to be too strict, right? Because nobody wants to be a slave to money. That's no good. And you want it to be a little bit flexible, but at the same time, without the framework of it, we don't have anything. And one last thought on this too. I believe I'm a very powerful manifester. I believe what you believe is what you achieve. I believe you create mentally what the lifestyle that you want to live and the success that you will have. And I know that many of you on this call feel the same way. So this starts to feel a little counterintuitive, like, I'm a prosperity person. I don't want to look at numbers. I just want to be successful and I want to manifest that. And that makes me think about money. Yes, it does make you think about money, but you want to see where you are so that you can say where you want to go. And the only way to get to an event horizon, to the next phase, is to understand where you are, where we are in terms of our income, and then the next step is where we're going. What's the goals? In subsequent calls, maybe we can talk about time management and the value of sort of logging in and doing it. Brittany, you mentioned my book with Brian. One of the chapters that I did, I said, would you hire you, right? Would you hire you? And I had to look at that as, not when I'm looking at somebody else, but I had to look at myself. And I said, well, as a business owner, I have the opportunity to come in and work whenever I want. That's the freedom, right, that we're told that we have. But if I had an employee that worked like I would, I would have fired them, right? So as I look at my own life and I start to say, well, why can't I be more successful? Because I'm not clocking in. So as we start to begin this journey together, and I hope it is a journey for you, it's not a destination. Business is absolutely not a destination. It's a journey. Start with these simple things. Build your budget. Figure out where you spent. Look at what you did. Not with the mindset of judging it, because yesterday is history, right? We're focused on just today and what we're earning. But remember, this game that we're engaged in is all about where we want to be mentally. So to understand where you want to go, you have to know where you've been, and then we can build on that. So success is predictable, right? Very, very predictable. But it requires discipline and it requires a little bit of structure. Not a ton, right? Nobody's trying to take away your freedom, but this is the part that really will make the biggest fundamental difference right from the get-go. So I know we kind of talked a little bit about some other things we'd like to bring up, so I want to kind of turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I think that's so brilliant what you laid out. It's so basic. And you guys, like I said, some of this stuff I knew and some of it I knew and I wasn't doing because like Scott said, we teach about prosperity and freedom and abundance consciousness. And I realized this when I started working with Scott. I've always had a mental block about giving myself a budget because I felt like I was then living in scarcity. And what Scott assisted me to realize that's not at all what a budget is. A budget is your map, your destination, or your map to guide you to your destination of abundance, but it's going to allow you the freedom and the space to see where you need to grow, where you need to show up more, where you need to cut back. I mean, we all have this. It never changes in business because the truth of the matter is, like Scott laid out here, is the more money you make, the more your lifestyle is going to go up, the more you're going to spend. So if you're not saving the 10% out of $100, you're not going to save the 1,000 out of the 10,000. Like, it's just the way it works. And so sometimes it takes you, it took me blowing a bunch of money last year and the year before on things that really weren't, I thought they were growing my business, but they really weren't. And Scott helped me identify the things that weren't profitable returns back to myself. And because I was coming from that place of, I have abundance, I want to give, I want to serve. But in the process, I was draining my own business bank account, giving out too much that wasn't producing the results back. So it was such a empowering experience. And yes, it was challenging. We had a couple like deep breath phone calls where we had to like breathe it out. And Scott's amazing at that, because not only has he, done this stuff to himself, but he's coached with masters like Jeffrey Combs, and he's friends with people like Brian Tracy, and he understands the quantum physics aspect of money and also prosperity consciousness. So he guides you through it in a very non-confrontational way, but he was able to sit down and be like, hey, Britt, look, what's this? Tell me about, what were you thinking here? What was the goal that you had? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't have a goal. I was just like giving. So it was really good. So I think all that stuff is just brilliant. Thank you so much for walking us through that, Scott. And I think one of the things is important as we jump into the new tax season is to just talk a little bit about the changes in write-offs, because there's a lot, I learned a lot from you that I was writing off things that really weren't ever allowed and I didn't know. And then meals and entertainment. So we're not going to go too deep into tax law. We'll do that on an additional call, but just those two basic, because especially for people starting, like, let's talk about the auto ship, because that's a big misnomer, right? Of how many products can we actually personally write off from our own business? And so could you just kind of guide us through that and some of the things you shared with me about that?
Okay. Now look, everybody that's listening, I know that we're covering a lot of stuff, and I want to, you may want to ask me more questions. So I'm going to give you a phone number, right? I'm going to write it down too. And then we're going to jump into this. It's 877-836-9691. So if you'd like a free 15-minute call just to talk about you and maybe what your thoughts were or what you'd like to do, let's do it. Maybe you're incorporated. Maybe you think you should. Maybe you're kind of just spinning and you're looking for traction. I get it. Give me a call, free consult, be happy to help. Now, let's talk about this Jobs Act, which I find to be a fascinating discussion just in the language that's used. So this Job Act that was enacted just on so fast, and we're still trying to come to grips with it. And I say we because your CPAs and your tax professionals are contacting me constantly and asking me, what about this and what about this? And it is really hard to know exactly some of these changes because we're going to have to get some clarity from the IRS. Legislatures are probably the worst people in the world to write law, and they wrote a lot of law and a lot of changes. So it's all good if you're a business owner, not great if you're an individual, if you're a W-2 earner, but for business, it is a great opportunity. But they did take away one thing that I'm not a big fan of, and you probably won't be either, and that's meals and entertainment. And meals and entertainment is one of those things where you go out and you're networking, right? We're out there and we say, let's meet for a cup of coffee, and you pick up the tab. Well, that is before was a deductible expense. Back in the 80s, it was 100% deductible. In early 90s, it was 50% deductible. And now it is no longer deductible, no longer, right? So if you go out with a meal or you go out with a client, a prospective client, existing client, your downline, your upline, whatever, and you're buying cocktails and you're doing your thing, okay, that is not a business expense. That has to go on the personal card because it is no longer deductible. Now that hurts, right? So what you have to do is you have to look at the difference between meals and entertainment and promotion, right? So if I have an event and I host it and I buy, let's say, some appetizers or some beverages or do something like that, that is 100% deductible. But if I meet somebody at a restaurant and we're just talking, that's not business promotion. Business promotion is, let's say, I have an event that I'm doing and I have some people over to my house and I invite them and I hold some food out. That's a business promotion, that's deductible. Or you do something, let's say with your downline and you want them to invite friends and you put that on, that's a business promotion. So this is still deductible, Meals and entertainment is not. And entertainment includes, let's say, sporting events, theater tickets, etc. Now, meals and entertainment are deductible for you when you are on business travel. So you go to Celebration, you're going to Vegas, and you're paying for your hotel there, 100% deductible. If you go and you spend meals for yourself, no problem, still deductible, but only 50%. So you get meals on business travel. You do not get meals at home anytime, under any circumstances. ¿Es claro? ¿Sí o no?
Sí.
Sí. All right. Stop. All right. So the next thing is auto ship. All right. And this one you got to really be smart about. Okay. So auto ship, and I see this a lot in network marketing. As Brittany mentioned, I sit on a lot of company boards, and I'm on the Association of Network Marketing Professionals Executive Board. I'm the secretary for the organization. And auto ship, everybody has a qualifier, right? So it's usually, let's say in ICJ, it's about $100, maybe a little bit over. But what I see is extraordinary spending on auto ship, right? Much more than the qualifying. So what the IRS says about auto ship, and it's funny because it's not in any of the tax books, right? There's nothing in any revenue rulings. And don't you find that extraordinary, right? Because you got millions and millions of network marketers all under the same fact pattern, have to qualify, right, to get commission. And there's not a single word from the IRS about it. Now, they do have a book that they give to their auditors, right, when they do an audit on you. And in that book, it says, any expense that is incurred in a home-based business like network marketing, where the purchase of the product is for personal use, is non-deductible. So think about this. You're buying stuff to qualify for commission because you feel like you have to. You think it's 100% deductible, but you're buying the product and you're consuming it. From the IRS standpoint, that creates a conflict. So what I would say to you is that while there's no revenue ruling, there's nothing out there that absolutely clarifies the topic. When I'm spending to qualify those expenses up to that line, arguably, I would say you have a good faith argument. Anything where you're spending greater than that, and the use of that product is personal, it is not deductible. Now, I know what the argument is because I hear it all the time, right? Well, how can I talk about this product and tell how good it is if I don't use it? And I'm a walking billboard and testimonial. And yes, that's all true, but the IRS simply just doesn't care because they look at that as personal consumption, and personal consumption is not a business expense. So it's so easy to get angry and fight about stuff like this. Just go downstream, right? The salmon that goes upstream, they just die at the end. So don't go upstream, right? Go downstream, fight. Don't fight with this, just accept it. And then when you buy greater than the threshold, you might be doing it for, let's say, events, right? You could be doing something in an event. You want to have some product there. I totally get that. That becomes a deductible expense. As long as you're making sure that you're categorizing it, what product you received and where did it go. So if we're over the auto ship and we're buying products, but we're going to use them as incentives, as gifts, as promotions, make sure that you're categorizing it. Now, there's a lot of levels here, but I think that, again, we're going to try to do this as a series and try to do more calls. I think this is so important to you. So 2 rules: meals and entertainment for Bolton, no longer, right? Unless you're on business travel. And then auto ship, which we all have to qualify for. And I say we, I'm doing the royal we. I'm not a distributor. But auto ship up to the threshold, yes, is a good faith argument because there's no revenue on it. But anything in excess of that, if it's personal, is not a business expense. Okay? If you use it for...
Scott, we just lost your video. Scott, we lost you. All right, we'll hang tight. Where'd you go? There you are. You're back.
I was sorry about that.
Go ahead.
So that's kind of what I was thinking of, those couple of notes. Is there anything else that you can think of maybe from our discussions or the events?
I think that's so great. I would love to open it up for some Q&A, but before we do that, I just want to, I know Scott put his phone number up there, but I just really want to encourage you guys. Like I said, I've been working with Scott's company for a couple months now. Their service is extraordinary, you guys, like exceptional, extraordinary service. One of his assistants, or one of the ladies that works in the office, Lindsay, she calls me every 2 weeks to ask me if I have any updates on my company. They've totally allowed my company to become much more professional, much more clean and organized. So if you are looking to open an LLC, an S Corp, he helped me change my LLC over to S Corp and all of that stuff. I just made his company also my registered agent. I took my stuff out of LegalZoom. Like, I had kind of done all this stuff on my own before. I really encourage you guys to work with Scott. Like, he's just so knowledgeable and he understands our business. So have a big vision of where you're going. I know some of you on the line are just starting your businesses, but working with Scott, I wish I would have had Scott's expertise 5 years ago, because I would have made a lot less mistakes and I probably would have more business profit, because I was just like blowing stuff because I didn't understand it. So don't make the mistakes that I made. Really, I encourage you to work with Scott. We're going to be continuing to do stuff on the team with him. But what other ways can they get a hold? I know you have a website as well. Do you want to write that on the board just so they have that?
So, when you build a website, you realize the longer the name is, the harder it is for people. But you don't realize that at the time. So it's my last name, Burnett, and Associates, all spelled out, .com. And if you're trying to reach me on an email, it would just be Scott @ So Burnett, BURNETTAND, Associates, all spelled out. And it's a long name. And I do want to sort of say to you all, I'm not trying to profit from our calls, right? I'm trying to give you guidance. If you're just starting out, I want to talk to you too. If you're very successful, I'd love to talk to you as well. But I just want to get you on the path. This is my coaching, my teaching, my style is all about emancipation. I don't want you dependent on me. I want you to learn enough so that you feel confident that you can own that space of being a business owner. Because being a business owner is not hard, but it's hard if you don't know what you're supposed to do. And I always get this, I don't know what I don't know. So it's hard to, where do I start? How do I do this? So why don't we just start with a call? Let's just start and talk about what you're doing. And then I'll give you some suggestions. And if you want to work together, great. If you don't, there's enough in that framework of our time where I can help you just get on the right track. If you're not incorporated, or you're thinking about it, or you're an LLC, and you're not sure what you should be doing or the benefits, let's just talk about that. But if you've got the burn to learn, and that's the key, if you've got the burn to learn, I've got the desire to teach. And there's a great expression, right? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I like to think I'm an extraordinarily good teacher, because I feel like what I'm trying to teach is not just numbers, it's mindset. You're going to achieve what you believe, and you've got to start really what your self-talk is. And that's really what I believe in. Okay?
I love that, Scott. Thank you so much. We did have a question from Andy, and then I want you guys to just unmute yourselves and ask Scott questions. We'll stay on the line for a few more minutes because we want to be cognizant of his time today. But Andy asked if you work with out-of-state professionals, and yeah. I think the answer is yes, because Scott doesn't live in my state and he works with me. So Andy's in Indiana, and yeah. Okay, perfect.
We work with companies all over the country.
So any questions, guys, just go ahead and mute out or unmute yourself, and you can just ask Scott any questions that came up, and we'll just wait on the line for a few minutes.
I have a question. It's Misty. Can you guys hear me pretty well?
I can.
My internet's doing weird things. Okay, so I had a question. I'm getting ready to start a second business with my certification that I'll be getting in March. for health coaching, do I need to have, I'm pretty sure the answer, but I just wanted to make sure, should I have a business account for that by itself as well? I should have separate ones.
I think that, I don't know, so I'm assuming that the other business that you have is Isogenics then, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so you could commingle that. Why not? The only time that we worry about commingling income is when we have risky business ventures. So let's say I'm transporting dynamite and I have my Isogenics business. I might want to separate the dynamite transportation business from that, because if I have a problem with the one, I'm bringing that problem back to the other company. So I actually think it's a good idea for you to put your coaching and Isogenics all under one umbrella. I would recommend that maybe you should do that as an LLC. Get a business bank account, put it all in there, commingle it together. Bookkeeping will break out the expenses for each business. Are you a corporation or LLC already?
Not yet. So that's what I'm looking to figure out what I'll need, because I'll be doing both businesses at the same time.
So the way that will report, right, it's got a 1040, that's your personal return. And then on that 1040, it's got a Schedule C. That's what a sole proprietor uses for their business taxes. And then on there, it's just going to have, how much did you spend in marketing? How much did you spend in rent? How much did you expense in products? And it's all going to be put together. So it all is going to show up on this report anyway, which is attached to your 1040. So go ahead and commingle it, but get a business bank account, okay? That would be the best thing that you could do. Don't put your ISA card and have it, then it gets really good. Just put everything in your centralized account, write everything off through the same account.
Got it. Okay, cool.
All right.
Yeah, Misty,
Thank you.
I do the same thing. That's a great question. So I have services outside of Isogenics. I coach and I sell books, and I do affiliate marketing and all sorts of stuff, right? And I have classes. So all of that goes through my LLC, which is now an S Corp, into one business bank account, and I categorize my expenses accordingly, like Scott just said.
Got it. Great. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Super helpful.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, this is Kathy. I have a question. A lot of people will contact me or ask me, at what income level should I incorporate?
Right. Well, the income level for incorporation usually is about 50,000. Okay. That's the threshold number that we look at for incorporation. That'd be gross, right? In network marketing, I have a tendency to lean towards LLCs, and the threshold for that is much lower, right? Let me ask you a question, Kathy. Is where you're at now where you're going? I mean, where you want to be? Is the place that you occupy now in terms of your income and your aspirations, is this the destination for you right now?
Well, I definitely want to make more money, but no, we are incorporated.
Okay. So what my point is for the other listeners, right, then, is where you are is not where you want to be, right? I used to have a friend in law school who would come to school dressed in a tie and suspenders, and he looked like he was going to the courtroom, and we used to always joke about it. And he said the thing that I thought was the most profound thing I've ever heard. He said, I dress to the level I intend to be. Yeah. In mindset, he was already there. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people stay as sole proprietors and they never look at where they're going, and their mindset is very limiting. If I form a business entity, what does that do? Well, it tells the universe and it tells my subconscious, I'm in business. So you're incorporated already, I would assume, as an S Corp. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
So the best thing about an S Corp is next thing is you need to be doing your minutes and your resolutions. Are you doing that?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. So as long as you're keeping up with that and you're running your income through it, you're in great shape. But the threshold number for incorporation, 50,000. For an LLC, it could be much lower. It really just depends upon, are you in it to win it? I mean, you know how this is, right? There's a lot of people that you meet that are going to love the product, but they're never going to see the business opportunity. If you're listening and you're in this for the product and the business opportunity, then we should talk about an LLC, because that is, I'm trying to manifest and create where I'm going, not where I am.
Oh, that's super helpful, because we do get, Brittany, we get a lot of people on the team asking that very question, you know, when do I incorporate, when do I LLC, all that. So great, thank you.
I called you and asked you that, Kathy. Kathy's an accountant and she's also a millionaire in Isogenic. So I called Kathy and I said, when the heck do I incorporate myself? Because I didn't know. And now we've got a lot of new leaders stepping up that are in the mindset of creating successful, solid businesses in our team. So this is great information. Absolutely.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you. And then I know you know this, but you know, you've got these entities, they make money, right? So we've got this thing, and let's say this is an S corp. Well, I've got 6 ways that money can come to me. I've got wages, fringe benefit, distributions, loans, rents, and royalties. I mean, I have a lot of opportunities, but if this is a sole proprietorship and I'm running my business as a sole proprietorship, and nothing wrong with that, but it's a very limiting vehicle. So most of the money, like 98% of it, is going to come in the form of cash. And that means it's going to be subject to federal tax, state tax, and self-employment tax. I don't have a category to withdraw profit and have it taxed at a lower rate. So there's a lot of things for all business owners to learn. And one of the biggest things that they stay away from, like, you know, it's like kryptonite for them, is tax education. Tax education is everything in a business owner, but so many business owners are tripping about it. They're afraid of it. They don't want to embrace it. But every dollar that you overpay in taxes is lost profit. Lost profit. And you hustle and you work so hard to earn it, and then you're giving it away because you don't know. And it would take so little to learn that. So one of my favorite expressions is, the more you know, the less you owe, right? And if you want to be successful in business, you have to minimize your taxes, because there is no financial obligation, not mortgage, not clothes, not utilities, not anything that you spend on your life, not all of them combined is higher than taxes. Taxes are the greatest expense. And until you become, not a master of it, but until you become comfortable with the topic and the desire to learn it, you will be like every other business owner out there. The average business owner overpays their taxes by $11,000 a year. The average business owner. Some businesses pay more. So you're losing $11,000 in profit because you are afraid to talk about taxes. Look, the more you know, the less you owe, and you can do it. This is not rocket science, really. And you know that, Kathy, right? It's not rocket science. It's different, but it's not complicated. It's just new. And just like anything new in life, it takes a little while to become comfortable with it, but you never become comfortable with it when you're sitting on the sidelines looking in. So one big takeaway for you, the more you know, the less you owe.
That's great.
Thank you.
I love that slogan, Scott. Thank you. We're totally going to use that on the team. Awesome, guys. Any other questions for Scott before we close out the call?
Just thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I believe in all of you. I believe in the power of synchronicity. I believe in the power of manifestation. And I believe that if you want it, you will create it. All you have to do is just start moving forward, one step at a time. Start with the bank, start with the budget. Be interested in the topic and desirous of learning more. And I promise you, the success that you are looking for is waiting for you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. So much value here. We're definitely going to be doing other calls a little bit more in detail later in the year as well. So I really encourage all of you, no matter what stage you're at, reach out to Scott. He has so much expertise. He's a great person to have in your camp as you grow and excel in your entrepreneurship. And again, Scott, thank you so much. I've learned so much from you, and you're just a joy to have on. So we appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you very much. That is one cute baby.
I know, he's throwing cereal all over my leg. So, you know, multitasking entrepreneurship right here. This is what we do.
And are you moving or something, Brittany? What's all the boxes?
And we're moving to a trailer later today. We're getting our trailer, living in a trailer for a year. So if I can be organized in my taxes, guys, anyone can be, okay? So thank you so much for being on, guys. I know a lot of people will tune into the recording. Thank you, Scott, for your time, and we will definitely have you on again soon. So take care, guys. Have a great day.
Bye. Bye, Scott.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.